So if you could just sum up for us the outlines of the debate around the policing of devolution of policing and criminal justice.
Well, I mean, from the justice side of things, I mean, we'd have to welcome the announcement within Silk Part 2. There's no debate on it, really. So first and foremost, this is an important part of a non-existent debate, if you like. Policing, those debates, of course, can be better made elsewhere. But in terms of justice, prisons, probation, there's some real, the timeline is possibly the most contentious issue. The need to think about it isn't a contentious issue. There's a very real need to think about this. And I would say that's the most kind of positive thing to come out of the recommendations, really, that there is a very real need, credible need to have a debate over criminal justice in Wales.
Explain to me why change is needed.
I think in a sense it's almost change is inevitable, almost as it is needed. There are debates about criminal justice, the system, and when you start fiddling around with the system, whether that be policing, probation or prisons, it inevitably leads on to other elements of that system. The danger here is if you devolve policing and don't devolve other elements of the justice system, you almost get into this biopsy of the Conford model, where you know what you're responsible for in some areas but not in others. So it's very unclear, very uncertain, and I think that is why we need to think about this as a system and not simply prisons or probation, as Alan Michael was suggesting. We need to think about this as a coherent whole in the long term.
Byron Davies, why isn't change needed?
Why isn't change needed? Well, I think change is needed. I mean, change is most certainly needed as far as policing is concerned, but not in the direction that is being suggested by Silk. I think we do need some change here in Wales, and as I said earlier on, we have a nation of 3 million people serviced by four chief constables, and I do question that. But in terms of policing, I think people see police officers walking down the street and they think it's quite simple to just devolve the management of those down to the Welsh government. But it's far more technical than that, far more technical than that. I mentioned again earlier that, in 1824, when the police service was set up by Sir Richard Mayne, the Home Secretary then, he said in Parliament that the primary object of efficient police is the prevention of crime. Nothing has changed. It is still the prevention of crime. And a police officer's role is primarily to gather information, turn that into intelligence and to act on it. And really, we need to have an overall strategic view if we're going to do that successfully. And to bring it down to the level of government here, I think would really confuse the situation and would not be in the best interest of the Welsh people.
The Silk Commission argued to prevent crime, we need to prevent the causes of crime, and many of the services that deal with the causes of crime are already devolved. So they argue to have a strategic view, as you seem to suggest, would be better done at the Welsh level, just as is done in Northern Ireland and in Scotland.
Depends what level of crime you're talking about. I think certainly where you have issues such as domestic violence, that sort of thing, they are well dealt with at this sort of level, because there are many crossovers, with the health service, etc. But I think, where you have organised crime that transcends boundaries, chief constable's boundaries, the constabulary boundaries, then I think it's a different issue altogether. And you really have to have an overall strategic view, which is best kept at the Home Office.
I would disagree, of course. There's some valid points in there, obviously, but I think that we're on the tidal wave of looking at these kind of things now. There are of course going to be opposing views, but the recommendation that came out of Silk, we have a timeline now to really think about those questions, and I don't dismiss any of those views. It's just a case of thinking about them properly, meaningfully within the context of the debates and all the evidence. It's about getting everybody thinking about this now. Of course, the recommendations for policing are a little bit stronger than those for probation and prisons, of course, but I think we need to think about these as a whole. This is a system. This isn't just policing, this isn't just probation, this isn't just prisons. It's about a system, and all these views and opinions go into that debate.
Finally, is it for you a matter of practicalities? Can these things be resolved, or is it a fundamental issue? As a matter of principle, these things should be settled at an England and Wales level?
No, I think it's about what's best for the people of Wales at the end of the day, and I think this is something which there will be great debate around, but it should not be led by ideology. It should be led by what is best for the people of Wales.
Is the debate around Silk led by ideology?
Maybe by some. I haven't seen all the evidence submitted. A lot of people submitted evidence from a very decent position, practically speaking. I wouldn't say it is in total. People will always reduce it to that. But that is what that is now the challenge we have over the next 10 years, to make sure that it isn't about ideology, to make sure it is about practice, to make sure it is about ensuring that, as Byron Davies says, that it's the people of Wales that benefit from a system which is more conducive to what we want here in Wales, and more conducive to ecological conditions of crime or the needs of the people of Wales.